Just starting in a dab. Fantastic. Hi, so welcome to the first workshop style live stream that we've done on FPS. So, oh, sorry, knocking my laptop, great start. So the plan is that we're going to talk through some basic how to start in making films, or just online video. Film feels a bit too grand a term for what you want to do. If you've never made something, or if you've just made a few things, you don't really know what you're doing, hopefully this will give you the know-how you need to make good stuff. So shall we begin with introducing ourselves? So yes. Dan, do you want to go first?
Okay. Hello, I am Dan. I don't really make many videos, but I do occasional live streams on Twitch. When I say occasional, I mean very occasional, but still live streams anyway. But I generally make games and I'm good at computers and stuff. That'd be me.
Cool. And Matthew?
Hello, I'm Matthew Gilpin. I am a vlogger, filmmaker type person. I graduated from a film and television production BA course 2 years ago now, and it doesn't feel like it's been 2 years, and that constantly prompts existential crises in me. I make films and stuff. Go watch my films if you want to know the kind of films I make.
Excellent. And he made a film that's come out today. So
oh yeah, yeah. Plug.
There should be a link to his channel in the description. So do that.
Yes.
Go watch that. Not now. Stay in the stream for now.
Yeah, but at the end, I'm trying to get it to 300 views before the end of the day. That'd be great. So that's plugging over. Plugging done. No more plugging for the rest of the stream.
And I'm Jules. My channel is Jules Ender. I make some animations and short films, as well as blogs about all kinds of things, and I review games, and I just do a lot of different stuff basically. And yeah, I really need to work out a way to actually summarize what I do. Lots of different things, but yeah, links to channels and stuff will be in the description. Our friend Jamie might be joining in, but they've had some dodgy internet recently, so we will see. We may or may not be joined by Jamie at some point. Right. Excellent, succinct start to the stream. Cool.
Right.
So then, to begin, what would be your initial recommendation for someone who has absolutely no idea what they're doing to start making a video to upload somewhere for people to look at? Like, what would be your first piece of advice you would give somebody?
Who first?
I don't actually know what I would answer to this. I should have thought of that before we started the stream.
Yeah, my general answer would just be make something, even if it's absolute pure horrible garbage.
Oh yeah, my piece of advice is probably it will be absolute horrible garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the very, very small chance that you could be a video making prodigy or anything making prodigy, but most of us start off being abysmal at everything, and then you get better later.
Have you heard I think it's from a podcast that I don't listen to, but I've seen it floating around the internet a lot, but the idea of the taste gap.
I don't think so, no.
So the idea is you get into doing creative work because you've got good taste, and you know what a good piece of creative work looks like, and you think, I want to make something like this. This is something that's to my taste and I want to make it. But then the first time you try doing something, it's terrible. It's horrible. And it doesn't live up to your taste. And you get really discouraged because you're like, I can't do anything that's like this, my taste. So the most difficult thing about any creative work is closing the taste gap. So getting yourself from the point where you know what's good and you're totally not meeting that standard, and slowly moving yourself up so that you can get to the standard that you know is good. So a lot of the most, like, if you really, really hate what you're doing when you're starting, that probably means that you've just got really good taste and you know how terrible your work is. That's great. Like, feed off that and make something even better next time, and just take those steps because you will get better. Yes, there's a little motivational ramble, but that's, yeah.
Also,
I think that's great advice.
Just to mention that one of the pieces of advice that my game design lecture taught me, which I found helpful a lot as well, is I'm a perfectionist personally. So when it comes to making anything, I want it to be exactly how I see it. So the solution my lecturer came up with, quite simple. You make something it's fairly easy to make, but try and do that perfectly. So like, there's a game, my absolute favorite game of all time, just purely because of the concept, is like called Really Really Bad Chess. It's literally like someone told this guy, make a chess game. He's like, okay, I'll make a chess game. I'm gonna make the best chess game ever made. And he made the best chess game ever made by having randomized pieces on the board. So it's impossible to play it. But like by doing it that way, it means that like you haven't necessarily made the greatest game of all time, but you have made your best effort at a fairly simple game. Same thing with the video, same thing with an art piece, same thing with music. Like, don't go into it. Let's say making a song, don't go into it expecting to write Mozart, but maybe go into it expecting to write, I don't know, a jingle for a gas station, something like that.
That sort of ties in with it. Like when it comes to film, I've never directed anything that's longer than about 4 minutes, because I'm like, I know I'm not up to it yet, and I want to get myself to a stage where I can do what I'm doing really well, and then push forward after that.
I think my advice. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, sorry, I didn't mean to sort of instantly be like, your point was great, let me steal it and turn it into my own.
Yeah, I think my advice to people would be to make something without necessarily having the intention of putting it up online. Like, give yourself some practice time to like work out what you're doing. That's what I did at the start anyway. When I first started uploading videos, my intention was to do Let's Plays, because it was 2015, that's what everyone's doing, it's what I was watching. So I made some like practice ones where I just had the camera while I was playing games, just to kind of get used to trying to interact with the camera and trying to remember to look in the lens and getting like comfortable with it. And then it meant that when I actually started uploading videos where I was talking to the camera, I was a lot more confident with it than I would have been. So, and the first video I uploaded, when I made that, I didn't intend to upload it. It was going to be a practice day vlog sort of thing, just excuse to film stuff and edit footage together. And then I actually really liked the result, and then that was the first video I uploaded onto my channel. So, like, take the pressure off, I think, is a good way to get started anyway, rather than trying to make something good, like you were saying. I think.
Yeah, especially because like when something's online, especially when it's something that you're not really used to doing yet, the internet is the worst at giving good critiques. Like, if you did your first ever drawing, you tried doing a sketch or something, and you put it on the internet, very first thing you're gonna get is like 7 people you never met before telling you it's terrible. But if you kind of do, let's say you draw like 20 things without putting them anywhere, then your 21st one, you upload that, you have a higher chance of people enjoying it.
Yeah, you're only going to get 6 people saying that it's terrible.
So I would say with YouTube, I think if you're getting anybody leaving a comment of any kind, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like,
algorithms, yeah.
Oh, I had a thing that was related to that. Yes. Wait, how am I going to phrase this? I think this idea is sort of remains important, like, throughout being creative, like on the internet or in general, like generally speaking, because so like last year I posted this thing, this little short film called Sellout, which was just thrown together in the space of like a day, but not even the whole day, and it was just me, and it was not very good, but I was like, I need to just kind of pull the band-aid off, because I've not been doing anything for the past few years that hadn't been, you know, university stuff. So I just made that to get it out there. So I knew it was going to be terrible, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to make this sort of clunky, awful thing and put it out there and get it over with. And then the next thing I made was, well, I think it was the next thing I made. One of the next things I made was the thing that I uploaded in January of this year called Don't, which I made for a competition. So I didn't plan on putting it on the internet, at least not to begin with. So with both of those, one of them I was like, I don't care what people say, I just need to make something to put it out there. One of them I was like, I'm gonna try and get it into this competition, but I don't have any plan to put it online. And so both of those let me build up a degree of momentum in sort of expressing myself creatively. Obviously, it's slightly different because by that point I had, you know, done a whole degree in film production. But it's an important factor in just sort of get yourself used to making things, regardless of whether or not they have an audience.
Yeah.
So I just mentioned, Chris has said in the chat, like one of the things I'm trying to reiterate when I'm going to start making videos again is to not have any grandiose expectations, since that's setting up for unwarranted disappointment.
Yeah, just make the thing.
Yeah, just make the thing. Like, give yourself. It's okay to have sort of, like, yeah, I'd say have high ambitions but not high expectations. Like,
ooh, that's a good quote. I like it.
Oh, excellent. Good. I've said something profound. But yeah, like always, if what you want is you want to make this amazing thing and it's going to get, you know, 50,000 views, like aim for that, but don't expect it. Because if you start to expect that sort of thing, I mean, yeah, like Chris said, it's you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah. You just said it's a much better quote than what I was going to go for, which was just F it.
So shall we move on to some kit recommendations then?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think the most obvious thing to say is that if you want to have a go at filmmaking, then the best thing to do is just shoot something with your phone if you have one.
Yes.
Because there's no point spending a lot of money on something if you're not sure what you want specifically and whether you're going to keep at it. So these days, phone cameras are freaking amazing. Like, this is not a high-end phone. This is a Nokia. You can buy Nokia smartphones. Did you know that?
I didn't even know they did anything aside from brick.
They do. It's actually really good. I would recommend it. But like, the camera on this isn't fantastic, but it will certainly do the job as well as my cheaper camera that I have. So, which is a few years old at this point. So I would say, especially if you're planning on doing something kind of vloggy or not requiring too complex shots, then like, yeah, definitely just use your phone to start off with.
Yeah, I would also say, like, probably the first bit of equipment you should buy is a tripod, because that will, like, if you're making film, that gives you so many options. Like, you can put it anywhere. You don't need to just like lean your phone up against a wall, and you can get these really cheap, like, adapter head things. I've got one somewhere that lets you mount what do you have one there?
I haven't got the bit to, I use this to hold my microphone, but this did come with a little thing that you clip a phone into. Okay. I bought this in Tiger for £3. Yeah. And it's a flexible like one. So it's like, this is the most useful, like, cheap piece of kit that I have.
But what's also great is that, like, you can use, I presume you can use that with just like any camera.
Yeah, like it's got a standard tripod screw, so yeah, you could put anything on that has that size screw fitting in it, basically. So yeah, I stick my mic on it.
But like that's if you're thinking of buying equipment, that's the first place to start, because also Jamie's trying to join. I've just seen that in the chat.
Jamie, if you can join us, it's great, but if you're just in the chat, that's also fine. Curse the internet gods. So
just to mention with phones, general recommendation I go for, because like I get people asking about phones constantly. Generally, if you want a cheap phone, like a cheap brand of phone with decent cameras, Huawei is pretty good. Like they have
or however you pronounce it, Huawei, Huawei.
Well, I heard recently that the CEO of the company, like, he won't stop saying the phrase, "It's my way or the Huawei." So I'm going to go with that.
Excellent.
But they do decent cameras generally on their phones. If you have a higher budget, Samsung's very good generally. Not the S8. S8 was terrible in camera sense, but any of the others are pretty good. Also, the Note series of Samsung are good for cameras. But most other phones, when it comes to cameras, is generally just double check the specs. More than, like, I think 12 megapixels is best. But yeah.
Ooh, have we got Jamie?
Do we have you?
Oh, we can hear you.
Hello, we can hear you. We can see you.
Oh, smooth. I was here all along.
Excellent. Yes.
Right, Jamie, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
I will just mute the other tab. I believe you just asked me to introduce myself. I'm
Yes.
Jamie. Jamie does things on YouTube, and I do things. I make things, sometimes films, not as much as the other cool people in here, but hopefully I can give you a few tips.
I mean,
Cool.
you do more than me.
So we're just talking about using phones as your camera. So
Cool.
that
I feel like we may have discussed this maybe in one of the very first live streams, and I may have also recommended the Huawei phone that a family member has. Yeah, those do have pretty good cameras, but any phone with a camera.
I'd just say the only thing to be aware of is that phones record with a variable frame rate. So they're usually set up for US settings, so they aim for around 30 frames a second. But sometimes it varies and you get like 29.95 frames a second, which can really mess up certain editing softwares and can mean that your audio slightly desyncs.
Yeah,
so be aware of that.
I have that issue a lot with Premiere.
So there is a possible fix for that, which is an app called Filmic Pro. I think you have to pay for it. I think it's around £15, but you can basically take manual control of your phone camera to change the frame rate and focus and just basically use it as a proper camera. So yeah, that was recommended to us a lot at VidCon this year. I haven't tried it, but just thought I'd throw that out there.
Just, yeah, I believe you get the same thing with the default settings on Samsung phones. Like mine has settings for exposure and not focal length, but kind of some way of using software to get a similar effect. When it comes to Samsung phones, they have very good camera settings if you like to play around with them.
I'm starting to regret my iPhone.
Just going off topic a little bit, Hattie's just jumped into the chat. So Hattie ran the DoodleTube Twitter account, which is what inspired me to make Film Prompt Society, and it just asked how like running things is going and interactions on Twitter and stuff. I just would say that the Twitter interactions is not great for this system. Most of the interactions we have now are either comments and things on the YouTube channel, or it's in the Discord server, which there's a link to that in the description. I find Twitter is good for just advertising that we're doing certain things, but I haven't found that's been very useful for growing anything. So I don't know if that's really very helpful to you. But yeah, I think that it's difficult to get people to keep interacting with stuff, especially over a longer period of time. But if you are bringing DoodleTube back, I would be very excited about that, because now I have free time and I want to do more drawings. So, I will up your interactions by one at least. So.
I'm not sure if you run it alone, Hattie, but it has been helpful for us to have a few people dropping in and out of live streams and in the Discord, and just having access to the channels. We've been interacting with each other, and that makes up for the lack of interaction.
Yeah.
Not that there's zero interaction.
It's built a nice little community, I think, is more the thing. There's a core of like maybe 5 or 6 people that kind of keep it going. So.
And then lots of like little peripheral people as well, and sort of like everyone orbiting everyone else.
Yeah.
Plus, there may be people watching who can't manage a prompt for 1 month or 2 months, but they'll still be waiting for it to keep running when they can get to it. So it's nice to keep these things ticking over. And yeah, I'd be excited to see DoodleTube back again as well.
Yeah, yes, do bring it back. As long as it's not like, too much effort for you to do or anything, as long as it's not getting in the way of things, then I'm on board. So if you want hand running things, I'm quite available at the moment if you need help coming up with the prompts and stuff like that. So. Oh, and Katrina is here doing some painting while listening to us. That is very cool.
Apparently. I have a calm voice.
So,
I didn't know I had a calm.
Right, so we were talking about filming on phones. So do we have any more comments on that, or do we want to move on to cameras now?
Well, I was going to say, I've not done much filming on my phone for a while, but something that's a sort of general film thing that I feel would apply just as much, if not more, with phones is thinking about audio. That it might be, if you're thinking about like investing money somewhere into some equipment. I mean, obviously, we were saying at the start, like tripods, best place to start. But a decent microphone or a decent audio recorder of some sort would probably make a lot of sense before you start moving up to cameras, because sound makes so much difference, and no one notices until you're doing it wrong. It's the sort of thing that, like, people judge a film as bad if it's got bad sound, but they don't judge a film as good if it's got good sound. So don't let yourself get written off quickly.
That is definitely a good point. With like phone microphones are generally absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
but you can get pretty decent plug-in microphones for phones as well. Like, can't think of any brands off the top of my head, but generally the ones that plug into the kind of headphone microphone jack are better than the ones that plug into the charging port. So look out for those if you can.
Well, once again, I have an iPhone, so I've only got the one.
You got to get one of those dongles.
Yeah, get them dongles.
Yeah, I mean, the first piece of kit that I bought intentionally for making YouTube videos was this microphone. This is take that off yet. This is a Zoom H1. It's like the cheapest of the cheap microphones you can get, but it is a significant improvement on the onboard microphone. So, like, if you're starting out, these are relatively cheap. This model isn't really available very much now. It's the H1N, I think, is like the low end one that's under £100.
Yeah, so, I've got the H4N, which is the next one up from that.
Yeah.
But that's got like external things for extra microphones, because I think I'm going to need that in the future.
All the fancy kit.
Yes. Investments.
Yeah.
If you want the one that's fairly cheap and decent, then I'm currently using a Blue Snowball, which is easy to set up and got decent quality.
Is that a USB into a computer style?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
thought about one of those ones, but I wanted to be able to record away from my computer. So that's why I ended up going for this, because it just runs on a AA battery and I can then just go anywhere with it. So yeah, it depends on the kind of videos you're making. If you're doing stuff that's at a computer, like live streaming or things like that, then it makes sense to have a USB one.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend going for the Blue Snowball if you're going to go with live streaming, just because it can be a bit glitchy, and also sometimes the software plays up, which uses a bit too much of the processor. But newer models of Snowball microphones get better at that. So very brief information with that.
Cool.
Katrina says she's doing art fundraiser for Harry Potter Alliance. Is that like, just if you wanna plug it, like if there's a link, you can probably leave that. Can I leave that in the chat?
One of us have to approve it. One of the administrators will need to approve a link, but you can post it as long as one of us says yes, that's fine. So at least I think. If not, send it to me on Twitter, Katrina. So I'll then post the link because I can. So
everyone's talking about Will McDaniel as well.
Yeah, he is the cool one of the group. So yeah, Will is possibly joining us for a future workshop live stream. He's said that he's interested in doing one about prop making. So that might be next month, might be the month after. We'll kind of see how organization goes. But yeah, so he's still involved in stuff.
Nice. Do we want to move on to cameras, or are we still talking audio?
Might as well stay on mics and things, really. I don't really have much I can say because I bought this in 2015 when I started, and I've used this ever since. I did briefly have a very small Rode mic for using with a DSLR that I bought secondhand and immediately returned because I didn't like it. It would have been a step up had I just been using the onboard mic on my camera, but because I had this, it was about the same audio quality except with a bit more of a hiss in the background, and it was just driving me insane that I couldn't remove the hiss easily, and I was just like, no, it's not worth it, get something out back. But
no, I did basically the opposite of what you did, in that I got an onboard a mounted Rode microphone for a DSLR. And I was like, oh, this is so much better than the onboard microphone. And then started using proper equipment at university and was like, my microphone is so terrible compared to literally everything else. And then moved up to this, and I've been using this for about 2 years. No, probably only a year actually, but it's great. Zoom are great, generally speaking. Rode is really good for like cheap entry stuff, and then Zoom is good for the next sort of step up.
Mm.
And like, if you want to go full professional, get something by Sound Devices, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money until I'm Steven frickin' Spielberg.
And by that point, you're probably renting equipment.
Exactly.
For something.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, it seems we always need our legally required Tom Wiseau mention. Don't forget, he bought all of his equipment. There you go.
Yeah, he did. That is why the room costs so much money.
The other reason is that he bought both HD and SD equipment.
I thought he was shooting on both film and digital
At the same time, yes.
Okay. Of course he was. He's a visionary
Quality
genius.
filmmaking there.
Anyway, Tom Wiseau section done. Now
Yeah, so we've still got to work Shrek in somewhere.
I mean, we've done it. That's it. Everything's ticked off.
So I don't know, do we have any other audio recommendations? I think basically it's just once you're at the point you want to start buying some kit, first thing is a half decent mic of some kind, but don't break the bank.
Yeah.
So
if you're thinking of doing it as getting something that'll be a really good long-term investment, something like the H4n would be great, because it's not just a microphone. It's got ports at the bottom, so you can get like more microphones in there. So if you're going to do stuff with like radio mics, but I will admit I'm thinking way down the line of like, this is stuff I'll need in a year or two. But H4n's great, very good if you are thinking about it as a long-term investment.
And I can't remember which one it is, but one of the Zoom mics that I think is around the same sort of price point as the H4n. It is, if you're doing like roundtable discussions for like podcasts and things like that, it has 360 capabilities, and you can turn on like different mics for like if you just want one side and stuff. So that's good for if you're recording several people in a room and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So
I can't remember which one that is, but it exists. So I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. So
very brief thing to mention is if you have things with a microphone, I have with like plugging it into your computer, especially USB, a lot of them can be quite quiet, especially if you're like me, when you have a very quiet voice. Something to recommend is a thing called Voicemeeter Banana. It has a very stupid name, but it's essentially what it is a audio converter. So what it does is it converts your microphone your microphone output to an audio output, so audio input. Then you can increase and change the settings in the program, and then it sends it back out as regular microphone output.
Nice.
So you can boost things, and you can make it bassier if you want to. But that's a very brief recommendation in case you have the same problem I have. It also has a built-in noise gate that I haven't got to work, as you can probably tell.
Excellent. Well, that could be useful. No, I'm just thinking about like, do I want one? But no, I need to not buy more things. That's a terrible idea.
It's a free program.
Oh, it's free.
Yeah.
Definitely want to do that. Free stuff.
That's in the link.
cool. Shall we now move on to cameras?
Yes.
The thing that I'm sure a lot of people are most interested in, because it's more, they're more exciting, aren't they, than microphones? Right?
Yeah.
So
Wait, I'm gonna just wait. Give me a sec. I'm gonna unplug my headphones. Hopefully it's not gonna suddenly make echoing noises. I just want to go grab camera stuff so I can be like, let me show you this thing. Let me show you that.
cool.
Yeah.
You've probably got the most options of cameras out of us. So
Okay, this is the main stuff.
don't drop
Anyway,
anything. Okay, so I'm going to just start with my beginning camera that I had. So this is my little Panasonic camcorder. So I originally bought this for my PhD research, because I needed to film my study participants doing a navigation-based task out and about. So I needed a camera that had a reasonably wide-angled lens, had a way for me to hold it that I didn't have to worry about dropping it, and had a good battery life. So that's why I picked this. It was a practicality purchase as much as anything, but I've used it for a lot of stuff ever since. I think it's pretty good for if you want a reasonable, like, lightweight vlogging situation kind of camera, though you probably can get better ones than this sort of thing now because this is a few years old. The thing I love about this is the zoom on it. It's got a 90 times zoom. It is freaking amazing.
Is that like is it an optical zoom or is it a digital enhanced?
Optical.
It's
like this whole thing is zoom. That's all that's in this device is the ability to zoom. That's why it's as long as it is. It's fantastic. I have a bit of footage that I took when I was in Scotland a few years ago. I was in Edinburgh. I was standing up where the folly is and pointing over towards the main hilltop walk, Fountain Point. I can't remember the name of what it is now. If you know Edinburgh, you know what I mean. And I was able to like see people's faces on that other mountain using this. So if you want something with a ridiculous amount of zoom, it's pretty good.
I'm color me impressed.
Yeah, I was surprised at how ridiculous this is. Yeah, the disadvantage of it has a weird way of doing color that you don't really notice in a video. It's fine, but when you take a still from it, everything looks slightly like a paint by numbers kind of image. Like it's like a block of one color and then definitely a block of another color. It looks like a strange effect. You can't tell when things are moving, but when it's still, it's really obvious. So I don't know the technical reason for that, but
I
yeah.
don't want to explain it because it'll take a year.
Cool. So there is a reason apparently.
Yes.
Tell us in Discord after the live stream.
Yes. There we go. Discord. There'll be more chats later then, I guess. The party keeps going. So that's my like first camera purchase if you're not wanting to spend a lot of money. I think this was about £200. So like obviously not cheap, but in comparison to like a fancy camera, fairly cheap. So
I guess you could say it's a pretty handy cam.
Specifically, this is a Panasonic HC V550, if anyone is interested.
Nice. Now, my first camera was a Sony Bloggie. I've got it somewhere. It's somewhere hidden away in some drawer, but it was a vlogging camera with a little like pop out USB thing, and
the name is adorable. I love it.
I know, right? And it was super cheap. But I remember there was a video that I did for like Summer in the City 2012 or something where I was mixing Bloggie footage and iPhone footage. And I'm pretty sure that the iPhone footage was better. And this was in like 2012. So I mean, it was convenient. It had like a bunch more storage than my phone did. But Sony Bloggie, probably new models that are great. But looking back on it now, I'm like, that was not a very good camera.
That is an important thing to mention actually before I forget. If you're going to go for the phone tactic with cameras, make sure you get a good micro SD card. Generally, ones like I think what they're called. Can't remember the company, but basically, if they say Ultra on them, usually they're faster. The faster they are, the better, and the more storage, the better. Yeah, very everything.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, I have a 128 gigabyte SD card in my phone. I'm thinking of upgrading it to 512. But I believe it's either the 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte ones that come out this year, which is mind blowing.
That is a lot of storage. You will never.
That is ridiculous.
Although I bet like us saying you'll never need more than a terabyte now is like we were talking about Friends earlier about that thing where he's like, yes, 500 megabytes of storage, and everyone's like, Oh wow, so much.
I remember my first laptop had 20 gigabytes in its hard drive.
My first laptop is in my cupboard right behind me, and it has 512 megabytes of storage. Not good.
Oh dear. I mean, I am old. Like I
Oh,
used to use floppy disks to take my homework to school. So, like,
So Chris says SanDisk. That is what I was thinking of. Thank you. Yeah, SanDisk are usually good. There are a few companies dotted around all over the place which have decent micro SD cards that still work, but they obviously some of them can be dodgy and a bit broken. So SanDisk is usually the best one to go for.
Yeah.
As they pretty much invented their SD cards.
mm.
Yes.
Should we move on to the more fancy cameras, the aspirational, what to get later on, or to as an investment, that kind of level?
Yeah.
I can hear
well, I mean, there's like I think of it as like there's like the super basic level which we've covered. Then there's the like weird kind of, I don't know, what should we call them, like semi-pro, like the DSLR kind of
Entry level.
Yeah, entry level, yes. And then the sort of lot above that, which I can be like, oh, my dream cameras, yes. But I'm just gonna put it out there. I presume most people at some point owned a 600D.
I did not.
You did not?
No, I went straight from this to my 70D.
Ah, well, I thought the 600D was the one that everyone had at some point.
No, I'm afraid I ruined your trend.
Yeah, by the looks of the shaking of heads from everyone down there, it looks like everyone's ruined my trend, and my trend doesn't actually exist.
You were looking at a single data point and extrapolating.
Yeah.
So
well, okay, that's fine. Now I'll just say, I personally, no one else has done this. I got a 600D as my first like proper camera, and they're not. Then like they were good back in like 2012 when I got it, or 2013, but Canon have come out with newer models since then which are better. But you can probably get a 600D for around 200 quid now, which is good, as long as you don't mind it not having the best dynamic range. So like, how does one explain dynamic range? It like the range of light that it can capture isn't massive, so you can't have a really dark area which you can see and then a really light area which you can see. As long as you don't mind that too much, Canon 600D is a great place to start, particularly because it's really cheap nowadays.
Do you mean the exposure levels, or is that a different one?
It's kind of the same, but not.
You mean kind of having, if you're recording in a dark room with like a window to a light room sort of thing?
Yeah, it's like the number of stops that are that you can see.
Yeah, I think that's...
Like I was saying at the start of this that like I'm going to say something and it's going to be wildly off. So I've now found the bit of terminology where I'm like, yeah, I know what I mean, but I have no idea how to say it.
I believe that's the exposure settings, but I'm not entirely certain.
Yeah, it's about like the range of exposure though.
Yeah. I think we're close enough to the right setting.
Lenses. Get what you were saying, Jules, earlier.
Kit lens.
18 to 55. Yeah. These guys. They are great. They are versatile. Love them.
Yeah. But it'll do the job in a lot of situations. So yeah, we definitely recommend.
Yeah.
I use this if I'm not really sure what exactly I want to do. And then this gives me the option to change more things. So because you can zoom with this, whereas my other lens I cannot zoom. So
what is your other lens? Pray tell.
My other lens is the one that's on my camera.
Mhm.
I don't know what I've done with the little cap for putting on the camera. I just leave a lens in it. So yeah, this is a 50mm. What is the other thing for it? It's a 50mm 1.8 f stop. So this is my making a nice talking to camera image, because you get your nice depth of field, blurry background, and it can open the aperture a fair bit more than this one, so you can let more light in, which is good because this room is not fantastically bright, so it's easier to make things look nice. So yeah, it's about the amount of thought that went into my lens purchase. Also, it's like the cheapest lens you can buy for Canon, so that also had a little bit of an influence. It's like, yay, this is under £100 when it's new. So
maybe I should start using my 50 again, because I just love zoom lenses because they're so much easier to like there's so much more you can do with a zoom lens, but the 50s do look really pretty if you use them well.
Yeah.
Daisy has a question.
So how hard is it for someone dealing with depression and anxiety to overcome these mental hurdles and get into film media? Any tips? Anxiety sufferer here. Hello. Yeah, I have found that it's been really helpful. Like, it's been a good creative outlet, which has been really good for me. And I've not had like any anxiety about like presenting myself to people. Like, the putting myself online hasn't been a problem for me. And I'm pretty good at not putting too much of my worth on like the feedback I get about things as well. So I haven't had, like, for me it's been like just good things rather than stressful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I have both anxiety and depression, and obviously I haven't made too many videos at the moment, but my general advice is essentially what I said before with my inspirational quote: just F it. Solely because that is kind of just how it works with anxiety. Like, if I'm finding that I'm having a panic attack about anything, just kind of hitting that point of thinking, I'm not going to panic about this. What's the worst that can happen? And not really overthinking it, and then just doing it is kind of what helps in my general case. Obviously, it doesn't work for everybody. But apart from that, I think like if you take some time before uploading something to kind of have a shower or watch something on telly, don't immediately upload it, then that either has two effects. It'll either make your anxiety worse, where you'll think, actually, I don't want to put this on the internet, or it will help you to think, actually, I do want to put this on the internet. But I think even in the second case, even if you do think, actually, I'm not sure if I like this, it kind of just gives you that moment to think, actually, is this the standard that I want it to be at? Like, if you're trying to go for something high quality, you're trying to go for something that you're proud of, if anxiety is saying, hey, don't put this on the internet, don't upload this, don't let anyone see it, then there has to be some form of grounding to it somewhere. So then having a bit more time to work on it and change it and feel more comfortable with it usually has helped me in the past. Yeah.
I think that sort of ties back to the like, it doesn't matter if you don't share things. Like, if you want to make stuff and then not put it out there, that's absolutely fine, and that will like working on that to the point where you feel as though you're competent will sort of, I don't know. I don't know where I know where I'm trying to go with this, but it doesn't seem to be going there.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, that like getting practice and not putting it on the internet will decrease the anxiety of putting yourself out in front of an audience, and then hopefully you can get more confident in your ability and overcome the audience anxiety.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of where anxiety grounds itself, essentially, is, right, I usually panic about going outside for too long, or, I don't know, if I'm making a game, I can't make anything while I'm in, like, in a public space. Just purely because my brain says everybody's staring at you and they think you're doing a terrible job. But generally what I find is if you just kind of keep pushing through it, that you just if you have like going on in the back of your head saying, "Stop doing this, leave it alone. No one likes this," and you just ignore it and keep going, eventually it gets a bit quieter.
It also helps to have a support group for that kind of thing, whether that's on Twitter or Discord or YouTube itself, or even just people you know in person. Wild. Just having somebody, if you feel anxious, like, oh, I'm not sure this is good enough, somebody can give you feedback, say, actually, yeah, it's a bit too quiet, or say, no, it's great. Just having that kind of encouragement can help a lot. So
Definitely,
it's
like,
nice that we have this group here.
Yeah, like, being in this Discord and other Discords as well has helped a lot. Of like, if you've made something and you're not entirely certain about it, putting on the internet isn't really going to help much with anxiety in some cases. Because you're going to get people who are saying this is bad, this is terrible, even if it's the best video I've made. But if you send it to people that you know and you trust, then you'll get actually decent feedback from people who, again, you trust. But,
And, and hopefully it's very easy or easy-ish to do that in the Film Prompt Society Discord or Twitter, because everybody else is also relatively new to this. So we're in the same boat.
Also, don't forget, confidence doesn't exist. Never has. Like, and every single person you see that comes on TV is faking it.
Fake it till you make it. Always.
Yes. That's always my advice. Anyway.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to say on that topic, or are we still on cameras as well?
Yes, still on cameras.
Did you say you went to an 80D? Sorry, I'm now entirely
70D. Yeah.
70D. Okay. Because I've got the 80D, which is like the 70D, but the next step up.
Yeah.
So I went from my 600D, which I had from 2012. It must have been 2012. From 2012 till 20. I mean, I've still got it, but I used it until 20. No, the end of 2018, because the docs was the first thing I shot on this camera. The first thing I properly shot on this camera. Well, I may have used it for an empty house as well. Anyways, now I'm just talking about my own films. Yeah. 80D.
Never apologize for plugging your work. So.
Plug. Watch. There's a playlist of my short films. Go watch all of them. But no, the 80D is like the 70D. Sorry, no, the 80D is like the 600D, but better, basically. It's like, I think of it as like the last stop up before you get to like professional filmmaking equipment.
So just to clarify with the Canon ones, the more numbers there are, the lower the grade of the camera, and they're kind of like grouped. So you've got 3 digits is like your more entry-level cameras, 2 digits is slightly fancier, and then single digits is like really fancy cameras. But I think most people, it's more for photography than for video at that point. I think that if you're going to spend that much money, you'll probably go for a more video-oriented camera than DSLR at that point.
Some people swear by the Canon 5D Mark III, I think, because you could get some third-party software that was really good for getting it to do video stuff. But I'm not saying any of that from experience. I just know some people who love the 5D Mark III. But yeah, I second basically everything else. I just want to put a little asterisk in there. But if we're talking Canon stuff, we should probably talk. I mean, we've already talked lenses, but I want to talk my lenses. Because when you're getting to this kind of level, it's interesting to think about the different sort of things that wide lenses can do and long lenses can do. But the only way I can think, dang it, I don't want to plug my work a lot, but I want to be like, so the best example of this that I can find is this shot from this and this and that.
No, do it.
Okay.
Go for it.
So long lenses kind of flatten everything. So you get stuff like, if you watch the docs, even the wide shots in the docs are mostly shot with this long lens. So it sort of compresses everything behind and makes everything look really close together. which is the opposite of what a wide-angle lens does. So, sorry, the long lens I'm talking about is the 55 to 250 zoom lens. And the wide lens, which is the opposite of the long lens, is the 10 to 18. And if you've seen my most recent one, there's a shot which I really like in that, which I know you're not meant to like your own work. Anyways, I'd like a shot that I did in my most recent film, which has like it's got keys and suites in the foreground. You can see someone really far away in the background, even though they're not actually that far away. That's the sort of thing that wide angle lenses are great for. So if you want to do that sort of thing, get this. If you want to do the other sort of thing, get this. I'm sorry, that was such a ramble. Oh, yeah. I said something.
If you want to see something funny, look for like pre-wide angle shots of explosions. Someone walking through an explosion, because they're like a mile away from it.
Good. It's not safe to walk away from explosions. We should be running.
That's why the long lenses are great, because it compresses that space, and it looks like
You're a cool guy.
so much closer than it actually is. Michael Bay does it all the time. It's like it's the Michael Bay thing is long lenses with explosions in the background, and sometimes. Oh, so another thing. Okay, another thing about long lenses is it amplifies movement from side to side, sort of. I mean, that's a kind of simplification, but it has the effect of making movement from one side of the frame to the other seem faster, but movement towards and away from the camera seems slower. And wide-angle lenses have the opposite effect, so that movement towards and away from the camera seems really fast, and movement from side to side seems really slow. So if you want to be Michael Bay, what you do is anytime the camera's moving forwards, you put a wide-angle lens on it, and anytime the camera's moving sideways, you put a long lens on it, and then everything looks like it's just zooming around everywhere all the time, even though you're probably not actually moving that fast.
I need to be taking notes. I'm learning things.
I recommend, like, going back to the Michael Bay thing, I started finding out about this stuff, although I've watched other things since then, but there's a YouTube channel called Every Frame of Painting that has an episode on Michael Bay. And that was like a really good starting point for me, learning what different lenses do. And yeah, obviously, like, to actually learn it practically, you've got to get your hands on and play with them. But if you want a theoretical introduction, the Every Frame of Painting episode of Michael Bay is wonderful. Highly recommend. Good. I'll stop talking because I've been talking for a bit now.
Do we have any more camera recommendations, or do we want to move on to miscellaneous other equipment?
I would highly recommend the Poundland webcam that I'm using. it overheats if you use it for too long, which is great.
Excellent. That is good. Only buy more lenses if you can afford them. Sorry, I've just seen people saying, I want to buy more lenses. Be responsible with your money.
Yeah, I'm always the same. I'm like, ooh, I could buy this lens, but it's like, yeah. Get into filmmaking. You shall have no money because you'll just be spending it on lenses.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I'm going to put my cameras away again because I got really excited and brought them all over, and now they're up in my desk.
Just highly effective.
So I mean,
sorry. Highly effective way of scratching.
No, go for it, Dan.
Is just to buy those lens mugs. The ones where it's designed like a lens on the outside. It's actually just a mug.
It looks like you're just pouring coffee onto a lens.
So yeah, other equipment. So we mentioned tripods already. We've mentioned mics and we've mentioned cameras. So other equipment that you use that you find useful that you would recommend. I have a little reflector, which I found to be quite useful. Has a lot of different things you can do with it because it's a 5-in-1 different surfaces reflector. So, you know, I'll go grab it actually. It's just there. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in like 5 seconds.
Speaking of...
Like, no, sorry, you say your thing. I was going to say a reflector-based thing.
Haha, see? So
It took out all the time that you were away with just going, no, I'm not.
so this is my reflector. So try to hit myself in the face with it. So it's got various different sides, and then this also unzips, and it's got different surfaces on the insides of those. And then the middle bit's like a diffuser. So this costs £10. So you can do a lot of lighting stuff with that. So
£10? Send me links. Send me links.
I will see if I can find a link. It was on Amazon. It was dirt cheap. I will see if I can find it.
I absolutely need it.
So right, 5-in-1 reflector. Let's see what we get. There's a few different ones that pop up. £15. I don't think the exact one I have is there, but I will give a link to one.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have experience using extreme budget reflectors like tinfoil wrapped around card? I don't know how well that would work.
I
guess it could work.
I kind of, but not really. Like, I do a lot of stuff. If I'm shooting in a room like this, I will do a lot of stuff like bouncing light off walls, which is particularly easy if they're white walls like this, or cream walls, or whatever color this technically is. But I've not made a little one ever. But I've been on shoots where people have. I've been on shoots where people use bed sheets as diffusers, which is pretty fun.
Oh, I also have a box of different coloured sheets for reflecting light purposes, but also for the stop motion. Like I'd sometimes like to put it on a table and have a colour and things like that. But that's in my miscellaneous filmmaking stuff box. So
in terms of photography and also possibly stop motion filmmaking, you can also just use white paper or card to reflect some light off, and that will make a huge difference if you're otherwise not using anything to reflect.
I once made like a box out of A3 white paper that I propped up and like had 4 sides and the bottom, and then I had my camera over the top and I was using that to illuminate things. I don't remember what I did with that. I remember doing this. I can't remember what I was shooting, but yeah.
Plenty of things to reflect on.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't make light of the subject.
So for a piece of kit that I have purchased and regret, which I think is an interesting category, we have these. So these are for using with your lenses. I can't remember the exact term for it, but they're like for macro stuff. So you can focus on stuff that's closer together. And already I'm demonstrating the problem. These are awful. I cannot disconnect them right now to show you.
I've got something similar that's like a macro thing, and I love it. I've not used it much recently.
That's the thing. I'm not against the principle of this. I'm against this cheap one. Don't buy cheap ones. So the problem is that they don't disconnect very easily. But also, like, I don't know how well you can see on here, but there's like the little sensors and stuff that connect to your lens and like transmit data and power. And they don't work properly because you can't. The focus won't work because the power isn't going through. And all this sort of stuff, and it's just like so if you want to be able to focus on stuff closer to than your camera allows, and you want to get these sort of macro rings, just don't get the cheapest ones off Amazon because they are useless. So that was like £10, very much wasted. So
well, the thing I got was like £10 as well, but it was what it is it's a bit different because it's like essentially what it is it's like an extra lens that you put on top of. Oh, hello.
That is amazing. Can you just do that for a moment longer, because that would be a fantastic still. Talk so that it goes to you.
Okay, yeah. I just need to. I'm not actually sure where. Oh, there it is. There it is. Hello. That's the one.
Okay, I think we've got a few frames there, so I can use that in the thumbnail when I do that later.
So this screws onto the end of a kit lens, and then turns the kit lens into a macro lens. and it's really cool. And if you use that with the other bit, it can turn it into kind of a wide angle lens. I don't really like the wide angle bit of it. It doesn't work as well. But yeah, I did use it for. There's a shot in. So the in Sellout, if anyone wants to go back and watch Sellout, all the shots of the pencil on paper were done with just the macro bit of that. And then if anyone wants to go and watch Don't, the wide angle shot by the door where he's like talking to someone through the door, that was done with the wide angle bit of this. So it's pretty, for something that costs like 10 quid, it's really versatile. But it does screw with autofocus though. It doesn't work with autofocus because your camera's like, this lens, what is happening? But if you're doing manual focus stuff and you want something really cheap for macro photography, highly recommend. I'm gonna go put this away now.
Cool.
In terms of miscellaneous equipment, in case anybody is hoping to film on a mobile phone, I'll put a link to something which I don't own, but which I got to try again at VidCon this year. It's a sort of phone stabilizer type thing that fits most phones. You just slide it open, pop it in, and you can get some really smooth shots with it and spin around without sort of fumbling with your phone. And that's about 15 quid. And everybody who tried it was like, wow, yeah, this is much better than just trying to film on a phone. So
that's cool.
That's a handy piece of equipment.
Oh, fair enough. Cool. Good recommendation.
I would recommend one of these.
That I regret. Oh, clapperboards. Everybody likes clapperboards. I don't have a clapperboard.
I don't have one either.
This was.
I have one, but it's a bit broken. I think I may have the one as you actually, or a very similar one. But the clapper bit, it fell off a desk and it came apart a little bit. So,
just like
yeah, I need to just. It's just like a cheap wood. Like I just need a bit of glue and it'll stick back together. I haven't done it, so I won't touch it because it'll just fall apart.
Did you get those from Flying Tiger? Or?
Wait, so Dan, do you have a clapperboard?
Sorry?
This is what we need for the start of the live stream. We're live, and
yeah.
that'll be our intro.
Can we do scene 24? Scene 24 is my favourite.
Scene 24, take 3.
My favourite Monty Python reference.
I did not understand it, but Daisy, are you still in the chat? Did you understand the Monty Python reference?
I think it might actually be scene 23. I can't remember.
Okay, well, we'll see if she comments. I have a piece of equipment that I regret. And I regret it primarily because I bought it and then I never got it out of the box.
Oh.
I've still got it. It's taking up drawer space. It's like a shoulder rig for DSLR cameras, and yeah, something like that.
24 is my favorite.
What was the Monty Python reference? Daisy's back.
Scene 24 is my favorite scene out of all the scenes. Can't wait for scene 24. Was this scene 24? Right, scene 24. Anyway, that's the section done. I love Holy Grail. I can't
remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I had one of those, and I have literally never used it because whenever I want to do moving shots, it's so much easier to just use the strap around the neck and hold on to it like that, and it does give it a bit more shake, but yeah.
Yeah, just demoing. This does widen open, but I can't remember how you make it do that. This was in my sort of regret pile because I bought this 2 years ago and I used it to film my sister's wedding, and it was very useful then, but I have not used it since. So I'm sure it will come in handy again, but right now I have no use for it.
I bought a bit of equipment that is. It's not in the regret pile yet, which I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a DJI gimbal thing.
An Osmo.
Yes. I'm going to say yes. No,
Whenever I hear DJI gimbal, it's a DJI Osmo, so I don't know whether that's a specific model or
I think
whatever.
I think it might be the Ronin, actually, DJI Ronin. And it was expensive. It was about the same price as my actual camera, but it was so useful on the thing I've just released today, which admittedly I did shoot back in December. And it was also how I got the shot that kind of goes way in. Yeah, you see me in Empty House. So it's super good, but I've only used it for those 2 films. I've not used it since December, so it has not yet justified the price tag. So I'm not saying like don't buy it. I'm not saying do buy it. I'm saying always make sure you think, is it actually worth it before you buy it?
To be fair, that was a pretty cool shot.
It's a very cool shot.
Yeah, I think all of us watched that and were like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think of other stuff. Lighting kind of things.
I have 2 lights that I like. Like a lot of the time, I just use like available light. Sorry, I'll let someone else answer because I realize I keep on jumping on as soon as anyone says anything.
You probably have the most experience out of us, so go for it.
I will definitely say all of the things I was going to say, but I will let other people say their things first, so that it's not just me talking the whole time.
So with lighting, I'd say, yeah, use available light, natural light, film into windows, things like that, if you don't have access to stuff. But also, like, you don't necessarily need a fancy softbox or anything like that to play with the lighting. Like, I've used various cheap desk lamps, and I've had a little LED spotlight that clamps onto a shelf that I got for like £5 from Argos. And I've used that for like just backlighting myself to get a bit of a hair light and things like that. So I'd say use cheap stuff if you don't need a fancy pants light. I do have a softbox. I don't use it all the time. It was a fairly cheap one. I think it cost about £30, £35 or something off Amazon, but it does a pretty good job. It has a ridiculously big light bulb, which I love just because of how huge it is. So this is the box I keep it in. So it's a good light. But it's very bright. It's very useful. Sadly, it doesn't have a dimmer option. It's as bright as it is. But so yeah, this is my light bulb. So it does the job.
That is,
yeah.
I cannot remember the exact lumen count or anything, but
I
it's bright.
don't know any of those things.
It's a bright light, and also it's a daylight warmth. So whichever Kelvin number that is. So nice. It's not yellow.
Yes. If we're talking about color balance, I need to bring forth my favorite light that I own. I sort of only own 2 lights for video stuff, and they're both LED. One of them's an LED circle ring light, which is good, but it's very useful for like very specific styles, and I don't know if I really like the style that ring lights do. You know, that kind of...
It's very flat.
Yeah.
Like
luggy style.
But this is my other light, and I love it because well, for various reasons. So it's very bright, and it's tiny, but also, wait, I'm going to turn it down to its minimum setting. It can be daylight or tungsten. There's a little dial on the back that can change the color balance.
that is handy.
That's clever.
It's great. This is the most useful light that I own. It was only like 25 quid, which is not nothing, I know, but
do you know what brand it is?
It's an Aperture something.
Aperture Science.
Yeah, that's exactly where I went to. Just go to Portal. So
Okay. Oh, Portal. Yes. It took me far too long to get there. It's Aperture. It's yes. Oh, it's like, but color balance. It's like blue and orange.
No.
Conspiracy.
I'm going to go put it down. I'm not sure what Aputure light it is, but it's by Aputure. It's, yeah, I mean, if you just search for like Aputure light, you know, under 30 quid, variable color balance or something like that, you'll be able to find it. And it's the best thing that I own. Oh, it's also got like a little thing that lets you mount it to any tripod. So that is also great. You'll see it in the background of a lot of my videos because it's perfect for getting like hair light. Yes, highly, highly, highly recommend. If you can afford it. If you don't waste your money. If you're not going to use it, don't buy it.
That is the thing. Like, before you buy any piece of equipment, think about what you're going to use it for in the long term. Is it worth the investment? And you can do a heck of a lot with very basic equipment. It just kind of, you know, gradually over time, you just start accumulating bits and bobs. And yeah, you don't, if you want to make your first thing, don't just go out and buy one of every thing that we've just mentioned, obviously.
Accumulated over like 10 years.
Yeah. I think it's been, about 4 years of me picking up odds and ends. I haven't bought any equipment in about a year at this point because unless I wanted to do something different, like I've got the equipment I need. Like I'm set for my current style of video that I do. So I might buy like props for certain videos, that kind of thing, but I'm not going to need anything for the behind the scenes world. Yeah. I'm also thinking, we haven't talked about software yet, and we have been going for over an hour, so we should probably do that quickly. Because yes, fairly big part of making videos is the whole post-production side of things. So my very first video that I uploaded, I edited that with Windows Movie Maker, which people always make fun of, and it isn't great, but it does the job. If you want to do anything more complicated than just cutting footage together, then you're going to struggle with it. But if you just have some footage that you just want to stick together and trim and put in a nice timeline, you can do that with Windows Movie Maker. Just save a lot because it does crash. So, but I mean, I haven't used it in years. It might be more stable. So,
got like every editing software.
Yeah, you do anything, save whatever the shortcut is. Just learn that and just be hitting that S button with whatever other key it is. And just do that every 5 minutes. So
it's the reason why for almost every software that I own, I've found some way to install my own autosave feature.
Yes, I agree with Jules. Just start on whatever free basic software you can, whether that's Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. Even on my current YouTube channel, I started off with iMovie for quite a while, and that is all you need. If you're just learning and starting out, then learn on something basic, because otherwise you'll get overwhelmed by all of the options. And then you can graduate onto something bigger and better and much more expensive if you pay for it.
So what I moved on to, which I still use for some things now, for reasons I'll get into later, is Cyberlink Power Director, which I have an actual box for. So this is a fairly basic software package. I don't know what the current version goes for, but this cost me, I think, £40, and that's a flat fee. You don't have to pay like a monthly subscription or anything. And it's like a really, it's a good step up, I think, from the free stuff. It gives you a lot more features. It's got a lot of effects, particle effect things you can do, various color correction, all that kind of stuff built into it. It's not very complicated, and it doesn't necessarily do the best job of those sorts of effects and things, but it does work. It allows you to have lots of different video and audio tracks. I've generally found it to be quite easy to work with, and it was fairly intuitive to learn. I would definitely say something like that is quite good if you want to get started and you don't want to be paying a monthly subscription like for Adobe. And I still use it for some things because I now mostly use Adobe Premiere Pro. But the problem I have with that is that when I record anything on this camera, the format it records the audio in, Adobe can no longer understand the encoding for unless I go to Windows 8 at least. This PC is Windows 7 and I'm not changing that. So I can't edit the audio from this camera, only the video. So I then use the older software for anything I've recorded footage with this. So that's my setup at the moment, is mostly Adobe, occasionally PowerDirector.
That is weird and interesting.
Yeah. So, and to be honest, if I didn't have that technical issue, I would just be using Adobe. But like, it's the problem with swapping between is like the hotkey shortcuts are different, and I keep just pressing the wrong button and like deleting clips and things. It's, yeah. But
I mean, I have been jumping between different things for a while, but I agree that Adobe is just great. I like it, but it's not necessary for if you want to do some editing. Like, I started with iMovie, and iMovie is a really good free software. Like, it's surprisingly robust. So that is a great place to start. And then I moved up to Final Cut for a while, which I really liked, but I think I only liked it because it was like iMovie but more. Because basically all my friends from university and from sixth form, even, who were sort of even slightly interested, sort of looked down on Final Cut. But I think it's it's that sort of thing of like, it was the right piece of software for me at the time. So obviously, you know, you have to find the thing that works for you. And then I moved on to Premiere about like 4 years ago. 4 years ago, probably. I've been with that since. So
I don't personally do a huge amount of video editing, but I've used Final Cut and a definitely very legally acquired copy of Sony Vegas.
Okay.
When I say definitely legally, please don't question it.
I don't question it even for a second. I believe you wholeheartedly.
I've generally found that Final Cut is better, like especially in processing sense. Like if you wanted to crash less, they are good. But like, so Sony Vegas and other ones work perfectly fine for just when you first experimenting with making videos.
Whatever you do, don't use Avid Media Composer. I
know that one.
Because studying 3 years university, they made a big deal of everyone using industry standard equipment. So I had to use Avid Media Composer to edit everything for all 3 years. And oh god, it crashes so much. The auto saving feature is terrible, and by which I mean practically non-existent. Just not that anyone would go to Avid because it's like more expensive than Premiere Pro, but like if you were thinking, I'm gonna go straight for the professional equipment, don't do it. Save yourself. Avoid it like the plague.
So that's a no for Avid.
Yes, no.
Now, my main frustration with Premiere is just the cost of the Adobe Creative Cloud package. I have the student discounted subscription, but I'm not going to renew that when this year runs out in the summer because I just don't have the money for it unless I get a reasonably well-paid job, as I'm currently looking for employment. So it really just depends on what I manage to get. And I may very well go back to always editing with PowerDirector. But it's expensive. So
it really is.
If you're just doing this as a hobby, it's a lot of money to be spending each month, especially if you don't necessarily make videos every month. Then you're just paying for this thing you're not using. It's really annoying. But obviously, if you are doing this like semi-professionally or professionally, then you can justify that expense. So I would definitely say, unless you are rolling in it at the start, don't invest in that. Maybe get a free trial or something if that's available. But
I definitely use it enough to justify it. Like I make more money per year than it costs to get Adobe Creative Cloud, but I paid for the full price version for the first time this year, and I do it annually so that it's cheaper. But Oh, that was a kick in the teeth.
Mm.
It's very expensive.
Just quick thing to recommend. A lot of websites, especially Adobe, are starting to offer older softwares for free. So you can get, I think it's a Photoshop CS2 currently for free on the website. Can't remember the company name. Give me a sec. Adobe, that's the one. Yes. They're starting to roll out more older softwares, which is still perfectly good. So that's always an option if you need things.
I think when I first started on Photoshop, the computers that school had was probably about CS3 or CS4, and I remember that being really quite good actually. So if they're starting to give out like early stuff for free, that is excellent, and I highly recommend it.
So like CS2 still has pretty much all the features you need for Photoshop, but it doesn't have some of these slightly fancier like methods of doing it. So it means like if you have a bad processor, it's not going to be that good at running itself. But also some of the image quality can occasionally drop, but it's pretty much the same. Like apart from that, and also it is technically open source CS2. So worst case scenario, if there's something you really need for that, you can look around the internet. Someone will have some way of getting around it. Yes, you probably find similar things for video editing software.
The other advantage, obviously, of the Adobe Creative Cloud is that you're not just getting the video editing software. You get access to all of the Creative Cloud softwares. So that gets you Photoshop, After Effects, Audition, which is the audio editing software, various others that you can use for other things that probably aren't as applicable to video production, but like other creative stuff you can do with them. So if you do use several different softwares in the package, then the cost makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But if you are just editing video, then it's quite a lot. Though I think they do offer you can just get access to one or two, like in certain packages.
That's the thing. Of like, I remember you could get like access to just one of them for about a third of the price of the total. So it was like I can't remember the prices now. But it would feel very odd doing that given how many different softwares you get for Adobe Creative Cloud. And I use Photoshop a lot and I use Premiere a lot, but I do occasionally use like InDesign and Audition and Bridge occasionally for file organizing, although I haven't done that for about 2 years. But yeah, so like it's for some people it will be great value. It's great value for me, but I totally get it if it's not right for other people. This is the thing, and once again, I'm like, I don't want to tell you to spend money that you don't have.
Yeah.
So total
I
sorry.
Is Jamie still here, by the way?
I'm not sure. I think they might have had to just go away because they've just muted and everything, so they might be back in a little bit. So we will see.
I was going to say, like, total advice so far: if you have money for something, use the money.
Yes.
If you do not have money for something, do not use the money. Use money if you have. Don't if not.
Especially when software is concerned, because there are perfectly serviceable free softwares for pretty much anything you want to do. Just search for what you're interested in, read reviews of different softwares. Like I've used free image editing software, paint.net, which was made by a PhD or a master's student, I think, for Microsoft to upgrade their paint software to have like layers and all that kind of stuff. But then they end up not using it. So now it's available just open source on the internet. It feels like old paint in the way it looks and everything, which I quite like. So that's a reasonable editing software. Lets you do transparency layers and things like that. So you can do that sort of image editing. For vector image stuff, there's Inkscape, which I've used. I use that for part of my PhD for designing map symbols, which is a vector art program that is difficult to get your head around. It's not very user friendly, but once you've worked out how to do things, it's quite good. And I'm sure there are plenty of free editing softwares out there. I haven't explored them though. And it's definitely on your phone. If you are filming on your phone, there are quite a few free, fairly basic editing apps that you can get that you can then edit the footage directly on your phone and then upload it straight to YouTube from your phone. So
a thing that I've heard floating around quite a bit, but I've never actually tried using it. But I've heard a lot of people recommend HitFilm Express as a free editing software. But I know very little about it. It's just when we're saying names. And I think there might also be a free version of DaVinci Resolve, which is a sort of post-production editing, like mainly for color grading, but some visual effects and stuff as well. I know that the paid version is what we always used in university to do color grading, but I believe there's a free version that's pretty good. But again, I'm not sure. I've not used them, either of those. But
cool. Do you want to stick those in the chat just so people can see what those are called? Because I would, but I'm not certain I actually heard you correctly. So.
And I'm not 100% sure about. Yeah, I both of these are like. They
may exist. They may be free.
They definitely
explore at your own risk.
They may be. HitFilm Express, I know the least about. I know DaVinci Resolve is great, but I don't know how much stuff you actually get in the free version. And I don't know if the free version still exists. But there definitely was a free version, and it definitely, at the full level, is excellent. So from that, you might be able to get some useful information.
Yeah,
cool.
Okay.
No, go ahead. I was going to start moving on to our next topic if you've got a point to add.
Okay. I'll just keep it brief, but like there are quite a few like fairly decent things on GitHub that you can find. If you ever want something that's good and open source and you know is being updated a lot, then GitHub's usually good for like finding like basically free versions of things that other people use. Like what was one I found recently? It was something for Visual Studio, like programming software for Visual Studio. It's basically just kind of makes it slightly easier for the interface if you have. It's easier to see the interface if you have vision difficulties, and they're doing a lot. But you can find all sorts of things that are very handy around there if things seem a bit difficult. Like if the UI is ugly, then GitHub will have something there.
Well, that's good.
Anyway.
You want to put that in the chat as well, then, just so we know what we're looking for.
Yeah. So I did want to try and talk a little bit about the tech side of things of computers and hardware and things, but I think since we've gone quite a bit over the hour already, maybe we could do that in another another stream at some point. Maybe we could have a slightly more stream related one in the future. That might be good.
Okay. I can give a brief rundown for like computer stuff for video editing if you need.
Yeah, if there's any like quick points you could give of what you'd need.
Quick things. If you want like quick file reading and writing, so that'll be anything when you're uploading or downloading things to your computer. Try and find an SSD drive instead of a hard drive.
That's a solid state drive.
Yes.
SSD.
Yeah. Additionally, if you try and go for USB 3.0 or 4.0 for your USB ports, that'll be good for faster uploading and downloading. The better your processor and your RAM is, the less likely things are to crash. So that's especially true for video editing softwares because they're very high CPU usage, especially around rendering. So either get a better CPU or better RAM or both, or just try and render things less, like render in small chunks, or use different encoding. But that can be very difficult to work out. Apart from that, there's something else. Yeah, if you're going to go for external storage, I wouldn't fully recommend external storage for video, just because external storage can break fairly easily. But generally, you can find fairly cheap hard drives all over the place. I've got a 2 terabyte Western Digital hard drive, which has fairly quick when it comes to uploading and downloading things onto it. No, not uploading or downloading, sorry. You know what I mean, transferring files onto it. That's fairly quick for that sort of thing, which is very handy. But generally, it's best to go for USB sticks if you're going to go for physical. And then as for uploading things onto the internet, Google Drive and OneDrive are both very good for that.
Nice. Excellent. I need to do better.
A good succinct rundown there. Thank you.
Try to keep it quick. So.
Yeah, I'll see if I can try and remember all of those. I know that I need to improve my storage situations.
It'll be in the upload later once it's up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so to kind of round things up, general thoughts or advice or words of wisdom from your mistakes that have happened for someone who's thinking of making some kind of video content.
Don't put magnets on your computer.
That is good advice.
Remember what on your computer?
Don't put magnets on your computer.
Oh no, that's a terrible idea.
No, don't do that.
If anyone doesn't know why, it'll like mess up everything, erase data, things like that. Don't do it. Just before someone goes, oh, I wonder what happens, and just destroys their PC.
Yeah, if you want a detailed explanation, let me know, and I will give it. Because I have too much experience with it. Yeah, I think generally proper advice would just be the same things you're saying before. When it comes to software stuff, don't go for expensive ones straight away, software or hardware. Try and find free alternatives and get used to those, and then when you feel more comfortable kind of purchasing something, then consider it then. Yeah. Also, don't steal things. I got an angry email from Sony once, which is always fun to have.
Did you get an angry email from Sony?
I may have torrented some things which they didn't want me to torrent.
Oh dear.
Film Prompt Society does not condone software piracy of any kind.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it's not recommended.
I mean, the biggest bit of general advice is not like a learn from my mistakes thing. I don't know. It's good to study other people's work and make that both good and bad work, and work out why either it works or it doesn't work, or why you like it and why you don't like it. Because that will help you understand how to do the things you want to do, and also what it is that you want to do. I think a lot of people, there are two approaches that I see when it comes to filmmaking, and a lot of creative work generally, which is the sort of very slow but steady, just consume as much as you possibly can and make very few things very tentatively. And there's the just make loads and loads of things and don't think about them at all. And neither of those really works in itself. And I just think it's very important to find a balance between the two. I've definitely gone too far down the route of, you know, research and like watching loads of stuff and not actually making anything. But I've met a lot of people recently who've gone too far down the other route and just make loads of stuff and never improve because they don't think about what they're doing. So find that balance. That would be my biggest bit of general advice.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, just like you find a shot in a film or a TV show and you think that was really well done. How did they do that? And then 27 years later, you're like, oops.
Yeah, it's so easy.
I think my advice would be more from a putting things on the internet perspective, which is don't get yourself too wrapped up in optimizing things for algorithms, because you will get into a really bad headspace. It'll take away the fun of it. And also the algorithms change all the time. Things that work one week won't work the next. So trying to game the system all the time, stressing about the optimization of the metadata on your videos, it's just going to get you stressed and take away the fun. So I would say try and treat it as something fun, and hopefully then success of getting people to see your work will follow, as long as you are making stuff that you like making. It won't necessarily. There's plenty of people who've made amazing stuff for 10 years or so and they still don't have a very big following. But if you're not necessarily looking for that huge success, then I would say just try not to freak out over it all the time. Make things you like making. Try not to worry about it.
Yeah, I second that.
Is that they do what you want to do, have fun with it. Don't like focus on success.
Yeah. It's definitely a cycle I go through about every 6 months of getting myself really in the whole, oh, if I make this video, this will do well. Oh, but if I do it like this, and then I'm just like, no, I make what you want to make. Just do what you want to do. And then I do that for a while, and then I start thinking about, oh, but optimistically, if I did this, and then I could optimize that. And yeah, I'm terrible for it, but just don't do it. So
yeah, no, it's very difficult managing those thought processes, because I sometimes find myself so much against those thought processes that I sort of shoot myself down when I start feeling any of them. So sometimes I'll come up with an idea that will be like, oh, if I do this, people will like it, and like I wasn't thinking, what can I do that people will like? And then I'm like, oh no, but that's me trying to game the system, and then I won't end up making the thing, even though it would have been really fun, because I'm sort of, yeah, don't overthink is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I do that all the time, and get in that cycle of like, oh, should I even let myself do this? What's a good motivation for doing this thing? And yeah, it's not productive. Just do the thing, and don't overthink. Don't overthink. That's it. That's my whole thing. I'm not going to overthink the sentence. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Can I end off with a very, very good quote from my granddad, my great granddad?
Yes.
Although it's slightly dirty.
Depends how dirty.
More innuendo dirty, it's fine.
Okay, innuendo is fine.
Okay. Like, remember in life, don't try and pleasure other people. Pleasure yourself.
Excellent. Very important advice.
I appreciate your great granddad.
So do I, even though it's like terrifying.
So I think to summarize what we've talked about, use what you have when you're starting out. Try and find free stuff as much as you can and use that. When you feel like you know what you're doing, what kind of equipment would benefit you, then start looking into things, but probably start with improving your audio.
Yeah.
So. Right. Well, I hope this has been interesting and useful for people. I'm hoping that we can kind of, whenever we have any new people coming along interested in taking part, we can direct them to this stream. I'm hoping I will have time to go through and like timestamp all the different topics and put that either as a pinned comment or in the description. So hopefully that will be there for people in future to look at. But yeah, thank you to everyone who joined in the chat. I think this has been the most interaction with people actually watching a stream that we've had. So that bodes well for this format of workshop style streams anyway. So yeah, hopefully there will be another one the first Monday of next month, which I think is the 6th of May. But the exact date might change, but that's probably when the next workshop style one will be. And then there will be the usual talking about the films made for the previous prompt stream on the 3rd Monday of the month, which I think for this month is the 18th, 15th. Okay, yes. So there will be another stream then. That will be to talk about the films for, but they said it was real. And current prompt is The Masks We Wear.
Yes, which is very convenient, isn't it?
Yes, I wonder how that happened. The film just happened to fit the prompt.
It so happened that my film that I'd already made back in December fitted this prompt. Oh, how wonderful and convenient that is.
And if you're wondering about that, you should join our Discord and see what we're on about. So yeah, thank you so much for joining in, and it's been great.
And Daisy and Chris and everyone who's been commenting, that's been great.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you. So, have a great evening, and we'll see you again for the next stream, hopefully. Bye. Oh no, I'm not dabbing. And I've ended the stream. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, good.
So it still says stopping. It's not actually said that it stopped.
Okay.
So
so we might still be
we might still be live. I don't know. Hello, if we're still live.
It still says
it's taking forever to stop. It still says stopping. Oh dear. Is it going to do a thing where it's like crashing out on me and it's just never going to stop? We're live forever.
Just, yeah, keep waving. Keep waving.
No, failed stop broadcast. We're not allowed.
No,
okay, try again. Stop broadcast. Oh, this would be fantastic if we just stuck live. This would be like that. To be fair, we haven't had a bad technical issue since the second mainstream, when at the point that we were signing off, my laptop ran out of battery because I didn't realize I hadn't switched it on. So I was like, all right, bye. I went to click and everything went black. So for me, I was just like, oh no, what has happened? And that was a bit stressful. And it was me manically trying to find the power cable, get some power back. And no, it still won't stop. Oh my goodness. Right. What do I do if we can't stop the stream? We'll just have to be live forever. Oh, this is going to be annoying. The annoying thing is we can't remove this from the end of the stream, because if you trim the stream at any point, when it becomes a video, you lose the live chat for the entire video. So this is just going to be here forever. So, yep. Oh, this is annoying. What do we do if we can't end the stream? There must be a way from control somewhere else. Right, I'm gonna dive deep into the.
Can we
what if we all hang up on the Hangout?
I don't know if it keeps broadcasting, but just with black. Like, I don't know. I mean, we could all just try that if it won't let me stop, because I've tried like 3 times now and it won't. I'm giving it one more go, and then we can all just hang up. Presumably, the Hangout will just terminate itself if there's been nothing happening on it for a while. Google must be that smart, right?
Yes.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
What if we dab more?
Yes, that will solve it.
Oh.
It's January 2018 again.
The dabbing never ends. Please help.
Right, okay. I think we're just going to all have to hang up and hope that it stops, because I'm not sitting here all night.
That's fair.
So, all right, let's just click hang up then.
Okay.
So...
Bye.
Bye.